Hi folks, welcome to Isha Performance Testing Training Institute. In this video, what I would like to bring it to you is the difference between the URL based scripting and the HTML based scripting in LoadRunner. This is a very important interview question. Some of the people would like to ask this question, and if you watch this 15 to 20 minutes video, you would understand everything that you need to know about this, and you will be able to answer that question. And also, even once you get into your project or you're a performance tester and you're interested to see like why there are two options and when we have to use this one of this option, this video will really help you. By the way, I do regular trainings for LoadRunner. Almost every single month I would start a new batch. If you're interested to become an expert in VUChan and learn this LoadRunner in depth, you can enroll to my classes, and the classes are not expensive as well. It's just $149, and it's 5 weeks training, extensive training. Okay, on that note, I'll get started. And by the way, that's my phone number that you see over here, 801-995-2427. That's an Indian number, so you can WhatsApp me for any questions regarding the trainings and all that. And that's my email address, kgupta@testingtraining@gmail.com. Well, on that note, let's get started. Let's open the VUChan. I already have it opened over here, and let me close all these buttons. Let me create a new script. Okay, so the script that I'm creating right now is just to make sure explain the difference between the URL based scripting and HTML based scripting. So I'll call this as URL versus HTML. Sorry, did I call it as HTML versus HTML? I would want it to name it as actually URL versus HTML. So let me add one more script. First, let me delete the script. So the script, bang, it's deleted. I'll delete all the other scripts as well, just to make the whole VUChan look cleaner. So let me add a new script. Let's call this script as HTML versus URL. Okay. There you go. That's the name I would like to give. And let me create a couple of actions in that. Let me call this first action as HTML based. So obviously my HTML based script will go inside this. And the next action, I'll create one more action, and I will call this as URL based. URL based. So obviously my URL based script goes over there. So let me start with the HTML based script. Let me delete all the other actions. So that's my HTML based script. Let me record some script into it, but before recording, let's make sure in my recording options it's HTML based. So where will I select this HTML mode or HTML based? You go to the recording options over here. You can either go from here, or you can go from here, or you can go from record and then the recording options. Either one of the ways you can go there. So what I would like to do is click on record, and from here I'll go to the recording options. It's just my way of doing it. So in this, go to general, go to recording, and this is where you select the HTML based script or the URL based script. Okay, so in this I wanted to record the URL based. So let's select that one. It's by default it will be selected, so there's nothing much you can do. But one thing you would like to do is go to HTML Advanced, always select 2 and 2. Okay, always select 2 and 2. Why? We will discuss this for some other day, or maybe in some other video. When we HTML Advanced, we'll try to discuss in some other video. Over here, I want to discuss the difference between HTML and URL based. But usually a lot of performance testers go with these settings. So yeah, if you want to believe me and go with that settings, go ahead and do it. It comes with a lot of experience. By the way, why that 2 and 2 comes with a lot of experience. Anyways, so I've selected that, and now let's start recording. Let's limit, as I've told you, let's limit the discussion for this video only for the URL based versus HTML based. Some other video maybe we'll discuss about the advanced topics of the advanced HTML and all that. Anyways, so I'm using this sample application, which is the Web Tools application, which comes with this tool. So you can look at my other videos to see the sample application, how to start it and all that. Now I will log in. So let me put some comments for the login. You will understand the importance of these comments once the code has been generated, especially when we are generating in the URL based. Okay, so I've selected, I've added that comment called login. Now I am logging in with Jojo and Bean. So make sure this particular window that you're seeing, it is related to the region, and every time you invoke a page, invoke a certain page, or you're going from a page to page, or invoke a particular transaction, make sure the number of events are increasing over here. Okay, so now the login is done. I'll create a very small script. Launching is done, logging is done. Now I'll sign off. So I'll call it as sign off, SIGN OFF. Done. Add the comment, and now click on sign off. As soon as I click on sign off, the number of events from 130 became 149. So the tool is identifying the application, and all the events are getting captured, is what you can say when the number of events are getting increased. So that's it. Now we are done with the HTML based script, and let's have a quick look at the script. I'll not make too many modifications or something. So just ignore that Design Studio if it comes up. My script will be there in the HTML base, so I'll double click on that one, and there you go. That's your HTML based script. And you can see, let me change the layout to the plain layout so that I'll have a better look at the script. So as you can see, this is my comment called login. So obviously these 3 web requests are for launching the page. Okay, the launching the page, what I meant for the launch page is the first page. Okay, when I said the first page, let me show it for you. So 127, there you go. So this is the page that I talk about. Whenever going forward in this video or any of my other videos, I'll say the launch page. This is what I meant. Okay, so just to launch this page, how many web requests are recorded? 1, 2, and 3 web requests are recorded. And for login, there is 1 web request, and for sign off, there is 1 web request. So this is how the HTML based script is. Okay, now let's go to the URL based script. Okay, and then we'll compare both of them to see what is that difference. Okay, let me go to the default layout so that I can have a look at the Solution Explorer. Now double click on the URL based, click on recording, and even before I record, what I will do is I go to the recording options. Now in general, in recording, go to the URL based. Now I'm doing the scripting in the URL based mode. Okay, just click on OK and start recording. There you go, my recording has started, and it will certainly, it's invoking my application, and this is the launch page. So the recording for the launch page has been done. I'm going to do the same recording what I have done for the HTML mode, the launch, the login, and the logout. So same script I'm recording, but the first one was in the HTML mode, and the second one is now in the URL mode. Okay, so I'm about to log in, so I'll put some comments, just that in the script I would know that this is whatever the script is for the login. So I've inserted the comment called login, Jojo, Bean, and then click on login. So the login based mode is been login related script has been added. Now I'll add the comment called sign off. Because the sign off piece of code is what I'm trying to capture now, and click on sign off. Done. So now I'll stop recording. So I've captured, the one thing you have to keep in mind is I've captured the same script, the launch, login, logout, but the first time around it was for the HTML mode, and the second time around it was the URL mode. Now let's look at a better look at the URL based script. So this is what is the URL based script, and this is my comment called login, which means that whatever the code that you see before that login, it is for the launch. And let's see how many web requests has been recorded. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So there were 5 web requests that are captured when we are recording in the URL mode for that particular launch transaction, or that for launching the page. But if you go to the HTML based, there are only 3 web requests. As you can see, 1, 2, 3. But in the URL mode, we are clearly seen there are 5. Okay. Now let's go and let's study a little bit about the login related stuff, or the login transaction. How many web requests have been created in the URL mode? This is the URL based script, and you can see for the login there is 1, 2 and 3. There are 3 web requests that has been captured just for the login transaction when we go to the URL mode. But in the HTML mode, for the login, there is only 1 web request that's captured. Okay, and let's go to the sign off. In the sign off, when you go to the URL mode, there are 3 web requests, and when we go to the HTML mode, for the sign off, there is only 1 web request. So the first thing that I want you to concentrate is the importance of the commits. It's extremely important to add these comments whenever you initiate a next transaction, just to know that which piece of code belongs to what transaction. Okay, each web request doesn't necessarily mean each transaction. As you can clearly see here, these 3 web requests makes the sign off transaction. So don't be in the intention that 1 web request and it's 1 transaction. No. Sometimes 1 web request, 1 transaction, or multiple web requests could be for 1 transaction, especially you're going with the URL based. So it's no rocket science that in the URL based, the kind of script that is generated is huge. Okay, and in the HTML mode or HTML based script, the kind of script that is generated is small. This is the major difference that you have. Okay, and one more thing, this is a very, very important thing. Whether you create a script in the HTML mode or you create a script in the URL mode, the response times captured for that particular transaction is similar. Only the script that appears to you is different, but the response times that is captured will be similar whether you're going for the URL mode or the HTML mode. Okay, that is very, very important. Whichever mode you're going with, the response times capture will be similar, and what you send to the server from the VUGen or from the client is similar whether you're going for the HTML mode or the URL mode. Okay, only the script generated is different. In the URL mode, it's huge. In the HTML mode, it's small. That's a major difference. And in the interview, they might ask you a question like which mode you would prefer as a performance tester, or most of the performance testers, which mode you would prefer. Just give it a thought. If you are this performance tester, which mode you would prefer? Obviously, it's the HTML mode because the kind of script generated will be small. Okay, URL mode, the kind of script generated will be huge script, then the maintenance problems, issues, and it's kind of hard to figure out which all web request belongs to which transaction and all that. So you need not have to deal with all that headache if you're going with the HTML mode. Okay, so obviously every single performance tester would prefer the HTML mode for the obvious reasons. Then, why they have given the option called URL based at all? Just hold on to that question. That would be an interview question as well. So just hold on to that question. Before that, okay, I said whether you're going with the HTML mode or the URL mode, it's same. Okay, it's same. Let's investigate and see how it is same. Okay, so for that, to investigate and see how it is same, for that I'll take this login transaction, and here if you watch, this script is the HTML based script. In that script, I'm looking at the login transaction. Now I wanted to see all the components of this login transaction, all the components or the subcomponents of this login transactions. Okay, so this page to load, the login to happen, and in the backend there will be multiple components that will be kicked off without your knowledge. Okay, let's look at all those components. For looking all those components, what I would do is click anywhere on this request. Click anywhere on this request and then click on View Snapshot Pane. What would I do? Click on View Snapshot Pane. So again, okay, and then now in the View Snapshot Pane, by default this is the HTTP data and this is the recording. Okay, just leave that default, and you see that this particular transaction, which is the login transaction, has 3 subcomponents, or some people call it as the components, or page components, or web page components, whatever they would like to call it. So there are 3 components. Okay, there are 3 components for this. So how would I look at this? Again, I will show you. Click anywhere on this request and then click on View Snapshot Pane, and there you go. The snapshot pane shows up, and here you will be able to look at the components. And these 3 components belongs to this login transaction. And make sure you click anywhere on this request. If you click elsewhere, what you see is a blank page here. You click only on this web request, then you will see the subcomponents or the components of this web request. And how many components are there? There are 3 components. 1, 2, and 3. Just that I wanted to compare. I'll take a screenshot of it so that my comparison becomes easy. How would I take the screenshot? Let me see if I have a sniping tool. Yeah, sniping tool is what I will use. So let me take the sniping tool and let me take a screenshot. Okay, so let me take the screenshot of this web component. So this is the web components of the HTML based. Okay, so you have 1 and 2 and 3 web components. Now what I'll do, I'll go to the URL based, and I'll go to the URL based, and let me look at the bigger picture. Okay, this is my login transaction, and here there are 3 requests that has been captured, web request. Let's look at the first request and let's compare with these components. So you see here bin by login.pl. You see bin.login.pl. So in my HTML, this is stored as a component which is coming to here as a web request. And the second one, if you can clearly see, page menu dot in is equal to home. Okay, and that's what you are clearly seeing over here. Okay, and then the third one, intro pl, intro is equal to true, pl question mark intro is equal to true. And if what's happening over here in the HTML mode is you have one web request. Inside that one web request you have all these components. But in the URL mode, for each component you have a web request. For each component you have a web request. So you have 3 components which are hiding in my HTML based script inside the web request as components. Now they are coming out into the script itself. So for each component you have a web request. So for component 1 you have this web request, for component 2 you have this web request, you have component 3 you have this web request, and this is the URL mode. In the URL mode, for each component you have a web request, and obviously the script will be more. If you want to look at the snapshot pane for this one, you would end up having only one component, as you can see here, cn dot, and you can compare this one, cg1 bin login.pl. Earlier in the HTML mode we had 3, but in the URL mode, if you click on that web request, the first one, you just have one component which is similar to what it was for the HTML. Now I go to the second web request, click on that second web request. Obviously you look at the subcomponents of this web request and you have only one of them. And let me compare to the HTML. It is similar. Menu and in is equal to home, menu and in is equal to home. Okay, and you have only one of them, so which is the second one. And let me go to the third web request. You click on the third web request and you see intro is equal to true, intro is equal to true. Earlier, one web request in the HTML mode, one web request. Inside that one web request we have these 3 components. Here for each component you have a web request. So that's the URL based. So what you're sending to the server, is this component information. And what you're sending to the server is same whether you're going with the HTML based or the URL based. Okay, so I can give you an example. Let's say you're a little, and then your mama has sent you to bring groceries from the nearest gas station or something like that. Okay, so she wanted you to bring, let's say a toothpaste, a shampoo, and some flour, okay, some sort of flour. So if it's a HTML based, what you do is you go once, you take all those groceries and then put them in a sack and bring them home. That's the HTML based script. If it's a URL based script, first you go, you bring the toothpaste home, then you go back and then you bring the shampoo, and you go back and you bring the flour. So that's more like a URL based. Okay, so but what you're bringing home is same, the toothpaste, shampoo and flour, but how you bring them is different, is a little different. So similarly here also, in the HTML burst, you have one web request. In that web request, you have all these three components. You have one web request, and in that web request, you have all these three components sitting inside that. And but in the URL based, you have first component, you have a web request for that. Second component, you have a separate web request for that. Third component, you have one more web request for that. So in the URL based, the script capture will be on the component level. Okay, so that's why you have a bigger script. You have a bigger script. So on that note, what I would say is a very, very important difference I will tell you between now. Okay, this is what you would tell in the interview if the interviewer asked what is the difference between HTML and URL. Obviously, the first difference is the HTML script is small, the URL script is big. In the HTML based script, you cannot capture the response times. You cannot capture the response times on the component level. But in my URL based script, you can capture the response times on the component level. We know that these three components belongs to login. These three components belong to my login transaction. Okay, so if you want to capture the response times, of the login transaction, so obviously you put the start transaction over here. So I would say Control T for start transaction. So let me name it as login, and then a Control H, Control Shift T for ending the transaction, and Control Space, that's where is the login transaction. Okay, so you put the login transaction, starting transaction over here and ending transaction over here, but you know these are all the components of login, so you can capture the response times for the components as well. So I wanted to capture the response times for this component, so obviously you will wrap a transaction around this, and then you would capture the response times of the components as well. So this is the beauty of the URL. In the URL based, if there is a need for you to capture the response times on the component level, then probably you have to use the mode called URL based, and then you record it, and then you can capture the response times on the component level. So on that note, I'll close this session, so before I wrap up this video, let's quickly look at those differences in a PPT so that it goes into your mind very clearly. So as you can see here, for the HTML based, the script size is small. For the URL based, the script size is larger. That's one of the major differences that anybody can figure it out. But the important difference, what the interviewer would like to hear from you is HTML based. If you want to capture the whole page load time, or if you want to capture the whole response times of the complete page, not just the not components, but the whole page, then you go with the HTML based. But every page has a lot of components inside that, and you wanted the response times on the component level, then probably you will go with the URL based. So on that note, we'll close this session. And by the way, if you want to look at my other videos, you can subscribe for this channel, which is Performance Testing Basics and Advanced. There are close to 15 to 16 videos out there, so you can look at those videos and then go ahead and enhance your knowledge. And by the way, if you want my trainings, you can always contact me over here on this email phone number 801-995-2427, or just send me an email kgupta.testingtraining@gmail.com. Thank you on behalf of Isha Performance Testing Training Institute, and would like to make more videos so that it can help you. Thank you so much. Bye.